On the examination, there will be several questions on computer hardware. These questions are all multiple choice and are based primarily upon definitions and acronyms, as we're about to see. All computers contain three main components: a CPU, which is a central processing unit, contains memory, and I/O, or external peripheral devices. The microprocessor is usually the same as the CPU on a single chip, and the terms are used interchangeably quite often. With large-scale integration, most microprocessors are contained on one chip. And if we look at an ALU, which is part of a microprocessor CPU, you'd find that the arithmetic and logic unit is used to execute commands and to manipulate data. It also contains several other devices. You'll find accumulators and registers also inside the microprocessor. The accumulator hold data and instructions for further manipulation. Registers are used for temporary storage of instructions or data. Stacks refer to a temporary storage whereby we can put things in and take them out later. LIFO stands for last in, first out, and strictly for temporary storage. A control unit would be a device that would fetch and decode instructions and generate signals. A program counter is a register that tells you where you are and what the next instruction coming up will be. And the instruction register holds the current instruction during its execution. Now, a bus is a physical path that provides a communication between devices. The address bus directs memory and input-output device transfers. The data bus carries actual data. It's probably the busiest of all the buses. The control bus communicates control and status information back and forth. RAM stands for random access memory, and usually the number of lines in the address bus tells you how many units of RAM or how many words of memory can be stored. If you have n address lines, then you'll have 2 to the n words of memory that can be addressed. The clock rate of a microprocessor is usually specified in terms of cycles per second or hertz, and ideally it's the number of instructions a microprocessor can execute per second. However, every once in a while you'll have a very complex instruction which may require several cycles of fetching and decoding, and in order to help things along, we sometimes use an MMU, which is another chip called a memory management unit, and this is used for performing some of these tasks. Flops refer to the number of floating point operations that it can perform per second. MIPS would be the millions of instructions it can do per second. The command set is the measure of the complex executable commands available to that machine. And when that happens, we have a complex instruction set computing microprocessor uses CISC. Sometimes it's reduced, and we call it an RISC, not an RISE. The emulation mode refers to the virtual mode in which a microprocessor can emulate the operation of another microprocessor. The OS is the operating system, also known as the monitor program. A microoperation is the action that can be performed during one clock cycle. And BIOS, BIOS, stands for the Basic Input-Output System. The ROM is the read-only memory. All or part of the operating system can be stored in ROM. Booting the computer is a term referred to starting up operations. And interrupt is a signal that stops the execution of a current instruction and transfers control elsewhere. A storage location is basically a place where we have an address to that location. We can store things there. A bit is a binary digit, and this is important to know. It often appears on the exam. A bit is the smallest changeable data unit. Bits can only have values of either 1 or 0. And a nibble is equal to 4 bits. So 4 bits equals 1 nibble. In addition to the bit and the nibble, there are some other very important definitions.